Against the Ropes podcast.
Contra las cuerdas.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back for another live show. Man, this is a big one. Perhaps the biggest weekend in boxing of 2024. I know a lot of people might be surprised by that statement, Chris, but man, this is such a big fight. Underrated fight, in my opinion. We must talk about it. And, of course, other breaking news as well. Welcome back, Chris.
Yeah, like you said it, Gio. This one is gonna go under the radar for a lot of the mainstream fans, but the true boxing fan knows that this one is pitting the two best guys in that division. And man, what a treat, man! I gotta say, Gio, this is the week of the 168, 175 pounders, man. They're taking all the spotlight, man. Let's get it going.
Yeah, obviously, let's begin with the breaking news today. David Benavidez actually posted it, so hey, to me that's pretty official. They haven't named a location or date yet, as far as I'm concerned, but seems like it's all set. David Benavidez versus David Morrell. Another fight at 175 pounds. Both men now in that division. It's for one of those junior belts, but it seems like the winner will get the winner of the undisputed bout between Beterbiev and Bivol. So give me your thoughts, your initial reaction to the news that broke out today.
Yeah, no, first of all, I was shocked. I was surprised. When you think of a guy like Morrell, like he's dangerous, but he's still very untested. So usually when you see those kinds of fighters, you don't see them get these fights until maybe 3, 4, or 5 years later. But it just shows that Morrell is brave, and it shows that Benavidez doesn't care. If you're established yet, if he knows that the fans want to see that fight, and he knows the dangerous fight, he welcomes it. He obviously believes in his abilities. I would say this is one of those fights that's made ahead of its time. It hasn't marinated. You haven't seen them, reach the peak of their powers, at least not Morrell. So it's a little surprising, but hey, again, the fight fans are going to get in for a treat, Gio. So again, it just shows that both of these guys have, they're true fighters. So I'm shocked, but I'm not mad at it. What about you?
Yeah, same. That's exactly the word I was looking for, when it comes to my initial reaction to this. I'm pretty shocked. David Benavidez isn't a guy known for taking tough fights. He's 27 years old. Just kind of starting to hit his stride. And now he's facing a guy with 11 fights. David Morrell, who honestly, we we don't know as of now if he's the real deal. You know, as you see there, 11-0, 9 KOs, 26 years old, Cuban fighter. Of course, we know those guys have extensive amateur experience, a great amateur experience, I would say, average professional experience, I must add. We don't know much about Morrell. He only has 11 fights, as I said. And we can take a look at who he's fought. If you take a look at the names, we probably don't recognize any of these guys. You know, the one thing I must give him credit for is he was facing, you know, I would say, quote unquote, tough opposition since he became pro. He became pro in 2019. And look, in his third fight, he fought a guy 22-0. At least he was fighting guys with double-digit wins, couple losses to a few losses, you know. But even then, as I said, we don't know much about him. His last fight was on that Crawford undercard. He didn't really shine. Got a unanimous decision in his debut at 175. You can say, you know, his first couple fights were over 168, but you can say his official, you know, debut as a 175 pounder against a 175 pounder wasn't impressive. You know, 11-0, 9 KOs. Now he's fighting the toughest fight of his career. We'll find out if he really is the real deal or if he was just a really, really good amateur and maybe that didn't translate in the pros.
Yeah, again, Gio, Morrell's 26, Benavidez, you know,
27.
not much older than that.
Yeah, 27.
You know, in terms of age, they're in their primes. Like, this is the time when they should be fighting. But in terms of name recognition, David, obviously, Benavidez has more recognition. He's kind of made a name for himself a little bit more. He's more known to the fan. David Morrell, people do know him, but they don't know him as much. So usually you get these kinds of fights when both of your names are like well known. I think of the, you know, the La Hoya Trinidad when their names were really known. So this is kind of one of those, you know, se apresuraron to do this fight. You know, I think of Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis, where I was like, they could have marinated that one, but we're not mad at it. We're not going to say no. You know, us as the fans, we're like, hey, we'll take it. You're giving us the fight. We're going to take it. We're going to watch it. We're going to enjoy it. So that's where I'm at right now. Like you said, Morrell has not been tested too much. 11 fights, you know. But hey, we're here to watch a great fight, and he can make a name, you know, off this fight, off a name like David Benavidez. So I'm excited. I think Morrell is very talented, but he's going up against a true monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned marinating. I think business wise, this is a terrible fight. This reminds me almost as obviously not as high caliber, not up there like a Canelo Lara, but I've mentioned this many times on this podcast. Canelo's guarantee for that fight, I believe, was like 1.5 million, and Lara's was 1 million. So they got terrible purses for that big fight. You know, those were the two best guys at the time at 154. Oscar didn't want Canelo to take it, you know, but Canelo and his team wanted that fight. I believe that was after the Floyd loss, if I'm not mistaken. So they were trying to make a name for themselves still, you can say, but terrible business. It was then for Canelo and Lara. If they would have waited a few more years, they would have both got probably closer to 10, 15 million. But they made it happen when they made it happen. In this case, 27 Benavidez, 26 Morrell. You would think these guys are in their primes, right? But again, I mentioned 11 pro fights for Morrell. We don't know much about him. David Benavidez, on the other hand, 29-0, 24 KOs. However, you take a look at his resume. I mean, he fought against Vostik. Why, Chris? I'm still scratching my head as to why. Vostik, who retired for 3-4 years. He was stopped by Beterbiev 5 years ago. Benavidez decided to go up to 75 instead of becoming that mandatory at 168, what he had been begging for all these years. He decided to go up. And then Demetrius Andrade, what did Canelo call him, Chris?
Terrible fighter.
Terrible fighter. Terrible. The Caleb Plant one, obviously his best win, you know, but if you want to compare him to Canelo, you know, he mentions Canelo all the time. Canelo stopped Caleb Plant, probably not even top 5, top 6, not even top 7 best wins, in my opinion, for Canelo, but hey, that's David Benavidez's best win to date. And before that, David Lemieux. Why did he fight him? Not sure why. Before that, you see the names, guys who had couple to several losses already. I like the Romero Alexis Angulo fight. Unfortunately for him, he lost his belt. Didn't make weight on that one. So wait, was it that one? I believe it was that one, right? Yeah, I think he weighed in right here at 170 and over 170, and that was he blamed like COVID. He didn't have access to sauna or whatever he was saying, but he was way overweight in that one. Kind of overshadows the good win that it was. And before that, I guess Gavril, he got dropped in one of those fights. Terrell, I mean, these are all fights that he was supposed to win, right? He's finally getting into these competitive fights, you can say. None of these guys have really put up a challenge for Benavidez. We'll see if Morrell can do that. And that's really the biggest question, right? Does Morrell have a chin? We haven't really seen him get hit. Does he really have power? Yeah, he has 9 KOs, but look at who he's fighting. So I think this fight is going to answer a lot of questions. We'll have to wait and see if this is even the headliner, Chris. Last time out, Benavidez was the co-main event. He wasn't even the headliner. They haven't named the location. They haven't named a date. So I think we're going to have to wait and see, because right now, Chris, they'll probably sell a couple thousand tickets. I'm not going to lie. No, I don't know many people who have paid to watch a Morrell fight. A lot of his fights have been in Minnesota. Where does PBC randomly put these cards, Chris? Like, if you look at a lot of these cards, obviously the last one was in LA, Minneapolis, couple in Minneapolis. Look, he's fought most of his fights in Minneapolis. Not sure why. Oh, let me pull up the screen. Look at that. He has all these fights in Minneapolis. I mean, obviously he's not the headliner or anything, Morrell, but still, he as a Cuban fighter, obviously already at a disadvantage, doesn't really have that fan base. But yeah, like I said, I'm curious more to see if this is even going to be a headliner, Chris.
Again, Gio, Dave Morrell only has 11 fights. It's not too common to see, somebody with that many fights get these kind of, fight, like these kind of opportunities. Do you think this one is an ill-advised for Morrell, or do you think it's ill-advised for Benavidez?
Oh man, I think more so for Benavidez, I would say. For Morrell, like, hey man, in a way you won the lottery. You're a Cuban fighter. You're not even supposed to make it this far. Obviously, we know all the political struggles that they go through and the challenges and them not able to leave their country. He's 26 years old. He's getting a decent amount of quote unquote fame, I would say, by attaching his name to Benavidez, to Canelo. I think he's done a good job in that regard. At 26 to get a fight like this, that's already faster than Benavidez. Benavidez 27. Well, he was probably 26 when he got the Caleb Plant fight, but I think for Morrell, unless you get brutally hurt, I think this is a win, because it seems like he's still going to have a long career. And for Benavidez, man, this is a high risk, I would say, very low reward, because he's probably not going to get the biggest of bags. A lot of people don't know who Morrell is in the mainstream. Obviously, boxing fans do, but people are going to be questioning his resume, even though Morrell is a tough fighter. So Benavidez has to win this fight, or else I'm not sure that he even gets a crack at Bivol, Beterbiev, whoever wins. And I don't know if he gets a crack at Canelo either. So for Benavidez, is a must win. You're fighting a guy with 11 fights. We criticize Crawford for doing that against Madrimov. Benavidez kind of doing the same thing. But this is it should be a tough fight. I think Benavidez should be the big favorite in this one. But it's a must win for him. If he's not able to get through Morrell, I mean, this is almost career suicide. You're fighting a guy with that few fights, with basically no fan base, taking a big risk, putting that bag at risk. It's a must win for him. So yeah, I think for David Benavidez, there's higher stakes in this one.
Yeah, no, I agree that this is a high risk, little reward for David Benavidez. I think him having the bigger name, more accolades, more recognition, more experience. I'm a little shocked that he, decided to take on David Morrell. Maybe there was an opponent out there. I don't know. I don't think there's a shortage, especially at 175. But maybe at this point in time, maybe he saw this guy. He's like, hey, I can beat him. I do give the David Benavidez camp some props. I think they got some cojones. They're probably the camp that are taking some of these fights that somebody as a manager would not advise. Like maybe we don't take that fight. You're too big of a name to take a risk like this. So I got to give them props. Them, the Rayo team, them taking fights that are like, maybe we take a different route. But I'll give them that props. I agree with Morrell. He's got very little to lose. Just having only 11 fights, going against a big name like David Benavidez, even in defeat, his stock can go up just because he doesn't have that experience. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate, Gio. I'm gonna say maybe it's not advisable for him, with only 11 fights this early, in my opinion, to take on a guy like David Benavidez. He could get seriously hurt. I do believe he believes in his abilities, his size, his reach. He's got a longer reach than David Benavidez. So, he's got some tangibles that makes him think that he should win this fight. But it's a dangerous fight as well for him. There's early on, in my opinion. Of course, we know that the Cuban style, you can box, you can win rounds, you can play defensively safe, but the pro game is a different one, Gio. So I don't know, man. I'm one of those like you gotta protect your guy when they're coming up and getting experience. If you get hurt so early, especially with a big puncher or a big name like a David Benavidez, I don't know. That could spell trouble.
I agree. I agree with that as well. And I think I must add also shocking for PBC to make this fight happen. They're basically throwing away one project, Chris. It's going to be the David Benavidez project or the Morrell project. Um, I'm shocked. They usually do not give us these type of fights. Who's tank fighting, Chris?
Lamont, I think.
Lamont Roach. Like those are the type of fights that PBC gives us, right? It's a side that is much highly favored than the B side. So I'm like I said, I'm still shocked that this fight is gonna happen. They better name a location and a date soon, Chris, or I'm gonna start not believing this. If this was April 1st, Chris, I wouldn't have believed it, man. But everybody's making it seem like it's official. David Benavidez posted it. So we'll roll with that for now. But yeah, look, I'm not against marinating fights. I've said this many, many times in the past. If it's going to be for the better of the fighters, if they're going to get bigger bags, I'm not against it. I understand that most boxing fans are just like, man, make it happen now, right? But I think this is a great example of y'all should have just waited. Y'all should have waited. Y'all could have made a few more million. Y'all could have sold a couple more pay-per-views. Y'all could have sold way more tickets. And at 26 and 27 in today's era, that's very young. So yeah, we'll see what happens, man, and we'll see when they announce this fight, and let's see where it happens, because both guys basically don't have a fan base. So I mean, I'm just gonna be upset if they schedule this thing in Minneapolis again.
Yeah, no, again, it's one of those things that this fight got made a little earlier than expected. You're right. But as a fan, what we're gonna take, if it's true, if it's official, and if we see those fights on their box rec with the date and the venue, we're gonna be locked in. I think we would get a great fight either way from these two big men. Obviously, David Morrell, he believes in himself enough to take this fight. And he might feel like I'm faster, I'm stronger, I can take a punch. He may feel this way even early on in his career. And David Benavidez might see Morales. I'm just miles in front of this guy. This guy's gonna be no threat, no problem. He might be talented, but it's not his time yet. So we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, man, at least for me as a boxing fan, I'll take it, man. Let's see some action.
All right, let's go to some comments here. Let's see what the people are talking about. A lot of diddler comments in the live chat. Man, this early. Adi says, only thing I know is Morrell's a drunk, but so is Benavidez, so it should be a good drunken fight, he says. Big Bro says a drunk versus a cocoa head, he said.
Oh, damn.
Allegedly. Big Bro said, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say when people bring in that insider info, man, That says a lot. That's maybe why some of them want to cash out on one project. But continue, Gio.
Big Bro says Benavidez had nobody else to fight at this point. It's a risky chance he's taking. Maybe he'd rather lose to Morrell than get beat up by the winner this weekend. Let's see. Who else is joining the class action lawsuit that Haney started against Diddy?
There you go.
All right, what else are people saying here? K.E. Boomerang says, Benavidez versus Morrell, excellent, he says. Benavidez versus Morrell will end in a draw to save both careers, says Adi. Ooh.
Go with the politics. Hey, I'm not mad at that.
How did PBC allow this, says Big Bro, is beyond me.
Yeah. Hey, Adi's onto something, Gio. Hey, we always think about that. How do the politics? How would they bet? So, okay, that's interesting.
Oh, man. Adi throwing haymakers, man. Adi throwing haymakers right now. But yeah, man, we'll see. We'll stay tuned to that, Chris. You want to go ahead until Saturday, Chris? And obviously, we're talking about 175. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss in this fight. So I think this is a good time to move forward. To I'm calling it the fight of the year, Chris. I can't see many scenarios where I'm gonna be disappointed. Obviously, we're talking AtR Beterbiev, who has 3 belts, versus Dimitri Bivol, who has 1 belt. Let's begin with the undercard, and then we'll get into the odds, because they do have Bivol as a favorite. Right? They do have Bivol as a favorite. But let's get into that undercard. This card, I believe, is supposed to start in the morning here on the West Coast. Saturday main event, they're saying around 3 p.m. Pacific, to be specific. Chris, what do you think about? Let's get into the undercard real quickly. What do you think about the undercard? I'll pull it up for you guys here on your screens. I'll go ahead and read the names as well, and yeah, we can take it from there.
Yeah, no, let me just touch on the odds real quick for Gio. I was a little shocked that I saw Bivol, as a favorite. It's for me, like, I get it, they're gonna be close, so I'm not mad at that. It's kind of close, but they got Bivol as a favorite against a guy that has a 100% knockout ratio. I had my theories. I think people don't know, and I will say the bookie don't know enough about Beterbiev to make an educated, kind of point spread. So that's my theory. I think more people know Bivol based off that Canelo win, based off that name recognition, than they know Beterbiev. So I don't agree necessarily with the odds, but if I had to pick a favorite, I would think Beterbiev, just based off. I know he's older, but just based off the knockout ratio, you can't discount that. So I was a little shocked by that, and I know we'll talk about it. Some of our polls that we have up, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a little surprised.
I wasn't really, because I've been looking at the polls too. I've been looking at the comments, and we'll get into the C words, Chris. We'll get into the C words. All right. Not at the moment. Let's get into the undercard for now. This is a little weird. I think I'm still a little confused by this, but the undercard is on DAZN. The main fight is on ESPN Plus. So I'll go ahead and repeat that. The undercard is on DAZN. The main fight, the main event, is on ESPN Plus. Now, I'm so glad Shakur dropped out, Chris. First of all, nobody wanted to watch him fight, especially versus that opponent. Who was it? Joe Cordina, I believe. Who cares? It's not important. But that fight was going to be on pay-per-view, DAZN pay-per-view. So it was going to make it even more confusing. You're going to have to change between 3 channels, quote unquote. But that one's eliminated. Good. Undercard DAZN, main event ESPN Plus. Obviously, Top Rank ESPN works with Beterbiev, so I'm sure they had a hand in that. Bivol works with DAZN. But look, here is the card. Sky Nicholson, that's a championship fight versus Raven Chapman. Ben Whitaker versus Liam Cameron. That's the gentleman that Anthony Sims Jr. kept calling out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I feel bad because a lot of these times I don't even know these guys' names. Like I've seen him fight before. He's the guy who does all the theatrics and the taunting. I don't even know that was his name, to be honest. I got to get better at names, but he's on the undercard. Jai Opataya versus Jack Massey. Couple titles there on the line. Fabio Worley versus Fraser Clark. Never heard of any of them. This is for the British heavyweight title. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Camille Sharameta. Not many thoughts on that. That's a middleweight bout. And then, of course, Arthur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol for all the belts at 175.
Yeah, again, there's some good names in there. There's some recognizable names. Nothing crazy, nothing out of this world. But Apatow, Sky Nicholson. There's some names that some fan favorites there that people want to keep an eye on. But not gonna lie, Joe, this is one of those where I'm like, I don't even care who's on that undercard. Like they could put the cab driver with somebody they found like down the street. Like I don't care. The only thing that matters is that main event, and I will pay for it to watch it. Like this is the one that, like you said, Joe, it's a can't miss event. This one is pinning, the first undisputed title in that division in I don't know how many years, 20 years, something like that. So again, these are the two very best, undefeated, both with an aura to them. I'm sure these guys know each other from the amateurs. Knowing that guy, I'm gonna have to face him one day. They have a history. They might not admit it or talk about it because they're both very quiet, reserved, disciplined fighters, but they know this moment was going to come. And again, shout out to Turkey. Without him, I don't think this fight gets made. We talked about the whole marinating. I think they would have, if it wasn't for Turkey, this fight gets made 3-4 years from now, if it got made. So the fact that we got it, man, it's a blessing. I'm sure everybody is canceling whatever plans they had on Saturday because a true boxing fan is going to see this fight.
100%. And man, I think to me, before we get into you guys' predictions on the live chat, unfortunately, man, I think this is a fight a year too late, Chris. Not even a year, maybe 6 months too late. When the fight was first announced, the fight was supposed to happen June 1st, I believe was the official date. Obviously, Beterbiev got that meniscus tear injury, and to me, man, that kind of throws everything off. We don't know what type of Beterbiev we're gonna get. He's 39 years old already. We don't know if that was enough time to recover. As Big Bro said, man, sometimes the bookies be knowing stuff, man. What if he does age overnight? That's my biggest concern. I'm gonna be straight up. If the fight would have happened June 1st, I think Beterbiev wins by KO. And I don't even think the fight would have been that close. I think boxing skills underrated just because he has the 20 wins, 20 KOs. I think people think he's just a Deontay Wilder, right? But man, this guy has skills and he has power and he has a chin and he has heart and he has 3 belts. So I think everything was in his favor. I think with that injury, obviously that's a concern. The age is a concern. As Anthony Sims Jr. mentioned last week, the ring size. What is it going to be? A small ring? Is it going to be a big ring? Obviously, if you're Beterbiev, if you want a smaller ring, but there's so many things right now that are going to be at play, and so many things that can affect the final outcome. And we're going to get into all of them, Chris, because some people were mentioning obviously Beterbiev's age. Somebody mentioned Dimitri Bivol's wife or ex-wife. Like there's so many things that are going on right now that's the only thing that's making my prediction flip-flop a little bit. Not necessarily on who's going to win, but how they're going to win. So, man, I don't know what you want to get started with, Chris. But let's just clarify and go back to the screen before we get into that. Here is what they're saying. The time is going to be, obviously the fight is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday. Start time, it says 11 a.m. Pacific time. Main event 3 p.m. Pacific time. All right, and you see there how to watch the Zone or ESPN Plus. So Yeah, I don't know what you want to get started with. There's so much to unfold here.
I say let's give our predictions, Gio, and
Oh man.
you tell why you think he's gonna win, and we'll dissect it from there, man. Let's go.
All right. KE Boomerang says, yeah. Let me read this.
I think I know who you're gonna pick, but I mean, I might be
All
wrong.
right,
But
all right.
let's go.
You never know. You never know in boxing. KE Boomerang says the meniscus was trimmed, not a complete operation. 2-3 weeks after the operations, he did mountain bike. Yeah, and I've been trying to watch all his videos. I'm trying to analyze Chris. I'm trying to see what's up with that knee. Because look, let me tell you this, man. If we get another Sergio Martinez situation against Miguel Cotto, man, I'm gonna damn near cry, Chris. I almost cried during that fight. I still can't watch the highlights or the replays. Um, we were big Sergio Martinez fans. That's probably uh, maybe top 2 favorite fighters of all time. Man, when he got stopped against Cotto and he went in there injured, he had the extra long shorts and the knee braces, and he couldn't even stand in that ring. Man, it was sad to see, but he got a bag, so you couldn't really be mad at him. You know, I think that's also the last boxing bet that I ever placed, man. What was that, like 2014, 15? Now that's how much it broke my heart. But man, I hope we don't get that situation here in this fight. Um, Look, I'm as I said, I'm a little concerned. I hope Beterbiev is healthy. I'm going Beterbiev KO, Chris. I don't think he wants to go 12. I don't know if his knee's gonna allow him to go 12. I think he's gonna have one thing in mind, and that's the one thing that he has in mind every single fight. And guess what, Chris? He's been successful in every single fight. 20 wins, 20 KOs. This guy's beating all the champions. Let me pull up his resume right now, but nobody else in the world is doing that right now, Chris. As much as other guys are dominating their opponents in these divisions, none of them have a 100% KO ratio like Beterbiev does. Bivol has not faced anyone like Beterbiev. And let me tell you this, Beterbiev has faced somebody like Bivol. He already fought the number 1 or number 2 guy in his division in the past. Alexander Vostok when he was in his prime. And guess what? Beterbiev demolished him. At the time, in my eyes, Vostok was the number 1 guy at 175 pounds. I was rooting for him in that fight, and it wasn't even close, Chris. Beterbiev dismantled him. Obviously, that was 4 or 5 years ago. Beterbiev a little older now, but look, he's seen that style already. He has obviously an extensive amateur pedigree as well. He faced Usyk a few times in the amateurs. I think he just has too many advantages over Bivol. I think he's gonna knock him out. We've seen Bivol hurt when he faces these big punchers. The one that comes to mind is the one against Joe Smith Jr. He was saved by the bell. He won that fight by decision, but he got hurt at the end of, I think, round 10 or 11, and the bell rang, and he wobbled back to his corner, Oh, and guess what? Beterbiev dismantled Joe Smith Jr., Chris. I'm not trying to compare. I actually think Beterbiev faced a better version of Joe Smith Jr. and dismantled him. So I just think that people underrate Beterbiev, maybe because I don't know, he's not American or he's not Ukrainian or they don't watch his fights. I don't know why, but 20-0, 20 KOs. He's been champion for 7 years, I believe. This guy's a destructive machine. But the only concerns I have are his age and his injury. Bivol will not be able to keep him away for 12 rounds. That's just what I'm going to tell you. And if Joe Smith Jr., not being the most skillful guy out there, was able to get to him eventually, I'm 100% confident that Beterbiev will at least hurt him in this fight.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not mad at that prediction. That's actually my prediction as well. And just like you, I also worry about the age. I do worry about the the injuries. Obviously, when we think of injuries, you hit it right on the money, man. We think of the Martinez. That was a fight that not too many of us knew about the injuries. Not too many people knew how bad it was. They did a great job of keeping that a secret, or else we wouldn't have bet money and lost big and got our hearts broken. But hopefully this is not the case with Beterbiev. Yes, I agree with you that before that small injury, I think we were like 60-40, even though we know it's going to be a competitive fight. We gave Beterbiev even more of a chance. Now with the injury, and then obviously gets pushed a couple 6 months back. It only ages Beterbiev more, gives Bivol a closer gap. He closes that gap a little bit, but yeah, the destructive force that is Beterbiev. Again, you don't get 100% knockout ratios just because. The fact that now he's the only one. He used to share that moniker with Virgil, but now, since Virgil's last fight, he doesn't have that 100%. It's only Beterbiev. He's the only guy. He's doing it still on championship caliber, level. So again, it's very hard. Even at 39, I feel that because he's been able to end those fights so much sooner, he doesn't have the same wear and tear that a guy like say Triple G had in his late 30s, or somebody else that's been in wars in their late 30s. So I have to favor Beterbiev, Gio. And again, just those injuries make me a little nervous, but I don't think it's enough. So again, I hope if it's not a Sergio 2.0, Beterbiev should get the job done. And again, he does have a great boxer, in front of him, but I agree. I just don't. I see Bivol winning a lot of those early rounds, but eventually, I feel Beterbiev, that weight will just swallow him whole. And again, this is not a Canelo. This is a big, big boy in his weight class, something that he owns for 7, 8+ years, and he's been doing it his whole career. You see those videos on YouTube, from his amateur days all the way to now. Like he's destroying everybody. So again, the discipline is there for both guys. Bivol could shock us if we don't get a 100% Beterbiev come fight night. And like Big Bro said, and maybe the bookies know something we don't. It could change. In boxing, we always think we know it, and then boom, something can happen. So I mean, I'm excited for this fight. It doesn't get much better. I'm sure Bivol is hearing that he's going to get destroyed by people, not his camp maybe, but people outside of that camp. So I'm sure he's going to want to prove something, and he's already proven a lot of people wrong with that Canelo fight. I'm sure he's going to want to do it again. So again, I feel we're going to get a very competitive fight. But for now, I want to say Beterbiev by knockout.
Hey, man, I'm a little upset. And I'm actually very shocked that you're going on Beterbiev, because during the whole lead up, you were talking so highly of Bivol. So I was expecting you to pick Bivol by decision. But yeah, I mean, I'm shocked by your prediction. But I think I'm more shocked at the fact that people think Bivol should be the favorite. Now let's get into that. All right. First of all, here you have it. 20-0, 20 KOs, 39-year-old Arthur Beterbiev. I know a lot of pages are now putting that Canada flag next to him, Chris. As you remember, hey, the WBC forgot about all this political stuff, right? Remember when the war in Eastern Europe first started, they were saying, oh, we're not going to sanction these Russian fighters and this and that. They forgot about that, Chris. We know how that goes. It's all politics within the politics. 2 Russian fighters now fighting for undisputed. But yeah, a lot of pages are putting Canada next to Beterbiev because that's where he lives or whatnot. But here is his resume. He last defeated Callum Smith in January of this year, 7 rounds. Before that, stopped Anthony Yard in 8 rounds. Joe Smith Jr. in just 2 rounds. Marcus Brown in 9 rounds. And then Danis, not sure who he is, 10 rounds. But this was a big one here. Volsdik, 10 rounds. They pretty much had to get in there and save Volsdik from the beating. Before that, not a lot. But look, he's been a pro since 2013. So about 11 years. He started his career relatively late, you can say, as a 28-year-old, I'm sorry. So yeah, as you said, he doesn't have much wear and tear. He's never, I think he's only been to 12 rounds one time. Got a stoppage in the last round. Where is it? Right here. In 2017. So yeah, not many rounds under his belt, and we can take a look at how Bivol comes into this fight. 33 years old, 23-0, 12 knockouts. So about 50% of his fights end in a KO ratio. In a KO, sorry, he didn't score a KO for what, 5 years. We'll look it up right here. But his last fight actually ended in a TKO. That was a stoppage. That was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in June. That was pretty much the replacement for Beterbiev, just keeping him active. Before that, defeated Lyndon Arthur by unanimous decision. Gilberto Ramirez 2022, November, by unanimous. Canelo by unanimous, also in 2022. Before that, not many recognizable names. Joe Smith Jr. is on there, 2019. John Pascal. He started his career in 2014. So, they have a similar journey, you can say. These guys, great as amateurs, don't have much wear and tear, haven't been through many wars. But obviously the contrast in power is very, very evident. And obviously that Canelo win by Bivol took him to a whole nother level. And that's why I think, look, here's the poll on your screens. Beterbiev 49%, Bivol 51%. Over 800 votes, Chris. I'm actually pretty proud at those numbers, because obviously a lot of the C words, Chris, a lot of the casuals, let's just say it like that, no disrespect, but a lot of them are just saying Bivol because they know him as the guy who defeated Canelo. They don't really know who Beterbiev is, right? A lot of people, some people even said Bivol was going to stop Beterbiev, Chris. I mean, if that happens, I will come here next week and apologize, but the only way I see that happening is if we have a Sergio Martinez moment, Chris. It Beterbiev just is not healthy, and he's if he gets stopped against Bivol, I think he's damn near retiring, Chris, because that's a big red flag. But yeah, going back to that screen, 49% Beterbiev, 51% Bivol. That pretty much reflects what the odds look like. The last odds that I posted, it was minus 140 for Bivol, plus 120 for Beterbiev.
Yeah. Again, Gio. When it comes to these fights, Gio, we've had a few of these fights where we pin number one versus number two, and you don't know who's number one yet until they fight. We think of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. We think of Usyk versus Tyson Fury, man. Like, and sometimes stuff happens, and you're like, man, I did not expect that from that fight. How shocking would it be if Bivol were to turn the tables on Beterbiev, in your opinion?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How shocking would it be if Bivol were to give us a something that we didn't expect? You talked about some of these casuals say Bivol needs a knockout. I kind of agree. I don't think he can. If he gets a guy like Beterbiev hurt, I don't think he lets this fight. Even though he doesn't have the power, I don't think you let this fight go to the later rounds. I think you take a chance and you try to take out Beterbiev. Again, what would it mean to you if a Bivol were to shock us with the result?
Look, he got a KO in 2018 against Sullivan Barrera. Didn't get one again until 2024. So that should tell you everything. Okay, so stop saying he can KO Beterbiev. That just makes zero sense. We got to use a little bit of logic, right? But as I said, if he's able to pull it off, then I think that would say more about Beterbiev than it says about Bivol. Yeah, I just don't see it happening, Chris. He's not a power puncher. He only has 13 KOs and 12 KOs and 23 wins. He's just not a power puncher. Let's not kid ourselves, But can he win this fight? Yes, I think he's gonna have to reach a level that we've never seen. You know, you can say Bivol has always been the favorite in his fights. I think even against Canelo should have been 50-50. A lot of people thought he was the underdog. A lot of people didn't know who he was. But this is I think this is a very, very close fight. I think it should be close to 50-50. I have it probably like 55-45 for Beterbiev. I think it's going to be a tough fight. Both guys are pound for pound. Um, I believe I have Beterbiev somewhere like 4 or 5, and I have Bivol right behind him. This is how big this fight is. So can Bivol shock us? He can. He's not getting a knockout though. He's not beating a healthy Bivol. Beterbiev, sorry. Can he win? Of course. He's a great fighter, but man, he better fight the most perfect fight we've ever seen, Chris. Because
Yeah.
he better not get touched. He better not get hit. Because sometimes Beterbiev doesn't even land flush, and these guys crumble. So it's just gonna be very, very tough, man. Possible, yes. Probable, not very.
Yeah, when we think of that Bivol fight against Canelo, Gio, you know, there was obviously we saw those early rounds. Canelo, not the fastest starter. Canelo does struggle with the boxer type. He does tend to he does tend to lose early rounds. People will just rack in those rounds. We expect that to happen with people. People winning the early rounds, winning obviously off the jab and just out boxing. There was a moment in the Canelo fight where a lot of the fans knew Canelo's not winning this one. You know, there wasn't that change in tide. You know, what would happen if that same thing happens, Gio? If we don't see Beterbiev, and I know this is likely not going to happen, but what would happen in your mind if you see people stick to the game plan, stick to his boxing, avoid many of the big punches? If he does get touched, he weathers them. What would that tell you about Dimitri Bivol?
I will be very, very impressed, and y'all better put him as the #1 pound for pound fighter if he wins this fight. All right. Obviously, um, that's contingent on what happens between Usyk and Fury. They're fighting in December. Um, it looks like Naoya Inoue will be fighting in December too. I think Naoya fighting TJ Doheny doesn't help his case to stay at #1 when we're getting these #1 and #2 guys in their divisions fighting each other. But yeah, if Bivol wins, he's #1 pound for pound, at least until December. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be crazy if he's able to make a statement. You know, I think usually we favor the boxer versus the puncher. You know, examples: Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. Um, but I don't think we can even make that comparison in this fight. You know, I think Bivol and Beterbiev have similar skills boxing wise. You know, obviously Bevol's more mobile. He does get hit. You know, people say Beterbiev is not a defensive wizard. Bivol isn't either. I think they have similar skills, but I think that great equalizer is the power by Beterbiev. So it's just, man, this is such a hard fight to compare to anything else. I don't think we've seen a guy like Beterbiev in recent times who just literally knocks everyone out, knocks every champion out. Has been doing it since the beginning of his career. Has been a champion for what, more than half of his career. Um, so yeah, it's very, very. I keep repeating it, but it's just gonna be very hard for Bivol, man. I just don't see how he's gonna get it done. He's literally gonna have to run, Chris. He's gonna have to jab and hope that Beterbiev's knees are in okay, and literally hope that the ring is as big as possible, and literally run around the ring because he can't get touched against Beterbiev, or else it's night.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Usually, when I see a boxer type style against a puncher, I tend to favor the boxer. You know, I think of Floyd Mayweather. I think of Erislandy Lara when he was in his prime. You know, I think of those kinds of styles. You know, just the boxer usually, you know, can flare and can outshine, and the great foot movement, against a flat-footed fighter, usually, you favor that. If Bivol were to somehow evade Beterbiev for all 12 rounds and win a decision, I think I would put him not just, obviously he would obviously win the undisputed title and he would go down as the greatest light heavyweight of this era. But I would also put him up there with the best pure boxers, of all time, alongside the Floyd Mayweather's again, alongside all those greats. So to me, I'm intrigued by this. Bivol before the Canelo fight, there was talks that he was a very, very, very good boxer, but we didn't know how good, he was. There was people that said like this guy's gonna shock Canelo, and then there was other people like, no, he's not there yet. He might be bigger than Canelo, but he's Canelo's great. So that told us something. So this one would put him in greatness, in my opinion, Gio. If he can, somehow, go the distance and win the decision, and then he thrown the boogeyman at light heavyweight, I think he will get the respect of the masses. So we'll see if he can do it. I don't think he can. You don't think he can, but again, if he's able to do it, Gio, he would have made a fool out of us, a lot of people twice. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I can't wait for this fight.
I like the comment from Skills from New Orleans. We favor the boxer versus the puncher, not the boxer versus the bear.
That's true.
Iceman says, I'm sure that's the plan. Run like Forrest Gump.
And again, Gio, these are two of the most disciplined, again, quiet, serious guys. Again, Bivol fought that fight against Canelo on pure discipline. And obviously, we know what it takes for them to be undefeated up until now. It's their whole life is discipline. Their whole life is, focus. I'm a little shocked to hear some of that outside distractions on Bivol's part. And those are the little things that can distract you just enough to derail your strategy. So I hope that's not the case. I believe we're gonna get two of the most focused guys come fight night, and I feel like it's going to be a chess match for a big moment there. Again, we've heard time and time again that Beterbiev doesn't believe he's a good fighter, that he's not, there's still more to improve. But, man, like you say, he's got the ultimate equalizer, which is his power. Nobody can take his power. And I think Bivol knows like he's going to try to avoid those shots as much as possible and stick to 100%, game plan. But it's a tall order, Gio. 12 rounds against a bear, against a monster, I know we don't get too much love to the other side UFC, that, but he is the boxing Khabib, or Khabib is the UFC, Beterbiev. But yeah, man, these guys are built like rocks, and man, I can't wait. I hope we get as many rounds as we can for this fight.
Talking about that, do you want to say how many rounds? How many rounds will survive?
Have you had time to think about it?
I have not, but hey, I'm feeling it right now, Chris. Look, this fight is gonna end whenever Bivol gets hit. That's all I'm gonna say. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I think he'll be able to survive some rounds, man. I think I'll give it like maybe with everything, taking everything into consideration, probably like 7-8. I'm gonna say. I think if it goes beyond that, Bivol has a good chance of winning. Because yeah, I don't think Beterbiev wants to go 12. Coming off an injury, 39 years old. Yeah, I'm gonna say like, what did I say, 7-8? 7-8.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Bivol a little bit more love, a little bit more props. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say he goes 9-10. I'm gonna say 9. I'm going to say 9. I do agree that once he gets touched, it's going to be a power that he hasn't felt before. We saw the shot against Joe Smith. That was a great shot that Joe Smith landed, but it happened right at the end of that round. So I see Beterbiev doing that in the middle rounds with so much time left in the round once he hurts him. So I see him stopping him. But I'm going to give people a little bit more credit. I'm going to say the 9th round. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to the championship round. That Bivol might just summon so much heart, and again, if he sticks to the game plan, he can make it to the later round, but ninth round for now.
All right. Look, and you do have to give Bivol credit because, as I said, he got hurt against Joe Smith Jr. He still won by decision. He was able to have that minute to recover when that round was over, and then he came back and he just outboxed Joe Smith Jr. But guess what, man? Beterbiev hits harder, and he's much better at everything than Joe Smith Jr. So, man, it's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be a great fight. Can't wait. This is the fight that I'm most excited for, Chris, this year. You know, maybe the Usyk Fury hasn't kicked in yet, but man, this is a huge fight. It's sad that a lot of boxing fans aren't talking about it. I'm trying to put as many posts as I can to make sure people watch this fight because this is Canelo Triple G, Chris. This is for the hardcore boxing fan. This is Mayweather Pacquiao. This is Crawford Spence. As I said, I think we get it maybe a few months too late this fight, but hopefully both guys can be 100% and we get the best fight possible. Hopefully, I think business-wise, this is the best moment to make this fight because now Turkey's in the mix, as you mentioned earlier. So I'm sure that bumped up their purses by a couple or a few milli. So I'm happy for them. I don't think either guy loses, man. I know that always sounds corny. Oh, the fans win. None of these guys lose, but it's true, man. Look, Beterbiev is 39. He's maybe got a few more years left. He's a young 39. Bivol got that Canelo payday. He's gonna get another big payday. He might get another Canelo payday after this. So, yeah, I don't think any of these guys lose. Yeah, it's gonna be very, very interesting. But let's get into some comments real quick. Skills from New Orleans says 5 rounds or less.
No.
He also thinks people can win. He also says it doesn't belong in any P for P. He beats who he is supposed to. Usyk is a different story. Excellence. I mean, look, how do you say such a great comment by saying the boxer versus bear, and then you say something like this, man? I'm not even gonna address it. Some of y'all don't watch boxing. People said in an interview, move, says Iceman. He's gonna have to. Solo,
and then he got a flash knockdown, bro.
He got wild with the takes. Shout out to New Orleans.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Gio, what fight do you think we're gonna get? Do you think we're gonna get something closer to Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, or do you think we're gonna get something closer to Usyk, Fury?
Look, if we get something like Crawford Spence, that probably just Beterbiev wasn't healthy for this fight, so I hope that doesn't happen. I think we'll get something closer to Fury Usyk, and even that one had its shocking moments, Chris. When Fury looked his best, he got hurt, and then it looked like Usyk was gonna stop him. So you just never know. You never know in boxing, but heavyweights, man, they're different level. Everybody hits in the heavyweight division. I just don't think Bivol has that pop. But yeah, I think we get a fight closer to Fury Usyk.
Hey, I agree. Hoping as much as I like to see dominance, like I want to see some competitiveness, and not sure if I feel like this fight, depending on what we get, we're gonna decide if there's a rematch, a rubber match. It could just be one and done, Gio. So again, if this one pinned the two very best heavyweights, I disagree with the comment that was said earlier. I don't think Bivol gets destroyed in 5 rounds. I've always said whoever is not in your league, whoever does not have any business being in that ring with you, you get him out in 5 and under. So Bivol is definitely up there with Beterbiev, and so that's why I do see this fight going that route.
Yeah, and his chin is gonna be tested, his heart is gonna be tested for sure. Ari says, solo sé que me voy a poner una pinche peda this Saturday. Que no quería tomar. It's gonna be early in the day too, man.
I'm gonna share the story with the guys, man. Obviously, you guys know I work at NBC. I just got the news today that Trump, he's coming to Coachella Valley, so I unfortunately have to work. and keep an eye on that, keep tabs on that. But I'm gonna have my fight right there, Gio. There's man, and if a story doesn't get through, I don't care, man. I'm watching this fight, Gio.
Hey, just as soon as it starts, just go to the bathroom. You know, it might be a few rounds, Chris. You never know. So, it might be a few rounds. But
Man, knock on wood. Knock on wood. Nobody try to do anything to trompas from 3 o'clock. Please. I cannot get away from this fight.
Beterbiev never out of gas as Boomerang. Yeah, he doesn't weaken as the fight goes on. It seems like he gets stronger. So, man, Dimitri is going to try to push the pace like he did versus Zurdo and pepper Arthur with 1-2s, says Big Bro. Yeah, and look, Arthur is a guy who sometimes, I don't want to say like this, but sometimes he does let his opponents do that. I mean, against Callum Smith, he was having a lot of success early, started closing the gap. It looks like he's comfortable in that dangerous territory because Callum Smith can punch, and he was landing some big punches. But Beterbiev likes to counter too. That's what I'm saying. Like, people underrate his boxing skills. He likes to punch in between. So I think he will be very content to allow Bivol to throw 4 or 5 punches if he can get just one in. I think he will be content with that because that one is going to be a lot more devastating than the 4 or 5 that Bivol is going to throw. So yeah, man, I as you said, I think it's going to be a chess match, and Beterbiev is a very smart fighter, so don't underrate his IQ either.
Yeah, again, I wish this was the kind of fight, Gio, that the whole mainstream can watch. You know, I always sometimes say I'm like sometimes like mainstream folks don't know when there's a good product out there. You know, just because boxing is not the sport it once was. But if people can watch this fight and have a focal point on this, man, this is gonna be one of those destructive fights. Again, you have the consummate boxer in Bivol who has to have the ultimate game plan, ultimate discipline. Everything has to go his way. He has to make sure, he gets touched as little as possible. Use that ring, use that foot movement. Stay composed, stay poised, even when you're going through a storm. And again, got a guy in Beterbiev. He's gonna take some punches to give some. So even though he gets tagged 2-3 times, 3 jabs come to the face, he knows that his 1 punch, his 2 punches are gonna hurt his opponent. So yeah, man. Again, defensive. I see this fight being very defensive for Bivol and all offense by Beterbiev. So again, man, I see people touching the canvas, Gio, and getting up. I think that heart is so great that we're going to see him, get up. And so we'll see how that corner responds when that moment comes.
Yeah, man. Bivol better come in the best shape of his life, man. That's an understatement. KE Boomerang's on fire, Chris. This guy pulling up some stats. Y'all want to fact check him? Maybe he's just writing bullshit over here, but this sounds very interesting. Beterbiev lands 19.4 heavy punches per round against top dogs, and Bivol 16.7 pillow punch per round against weaker opponents. Beterbiev's accuracy is 31.8, Bivol's 30.8. The stats don't lie, he says. New Orleans says he respects, my opinion. I'm guessing the purpose of this chat is to respectfully voice your opinion. If we all the same, where's the fun and or diversity? Yeah, it's all good. I like making fun of people with bad takes. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm wondering, is anybody going for Bivol? Is there anybody on the chat that says, you know what, this guy's got the boxing skills, he's got the high IQ acumen? Is there anybody out there that says, you know what, I'm voting for Bivol on this? And again, I wouldn't be mad at you. Bivol could pull off the upset if he sticks to his guns and is able to frustrate Beterbiev. But I know that's easier said than done. But yeah, man, I'm curious if anybody is going for Bivol.
I think there was a lot of guys on here who were, at least their comments seemed like they were kind of in favor of Bivol. Maybe we're scaring them away, Chris. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, look, if Bivol wins, like I said, we will come here next week and apologized and said, y'all were right. We were wrong, but man, that's the beauty of this, man. It's going to be such a great fight. Undisputed, 175 pounds, number one and number two. I can't believe I think even ESPN had Beterbiev at number two. How? I don't know. He has 3 of the belts, knocking everyone out. Better resume than Bivol. So, but anyway, the good thing is this is all going to get settled on Saturday.
I would just say, Gio, like I agree with you. I think obviously we always say that whoever has that number one spot, it's always about what have we done lately. So I full agree. The winner of this fight does deserve to be number one, and then the winner of that other fight that happened in December, they can overlap them, depending on who it is. But yeah, man, I think warranted. The winner of this fight, and depending on how they do it and what fashion, does deserve to get that number one spot. Do you agree?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I was reading the comments here.
Yeah. Do you agree that the winner of this match does get that number one spot, at least for the time being, until we see what happens in December?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I think things might change in December with Inoue fighting. He's fighting Goodman, and obviously Fury Usyk. But I agree. If Bivol wins, of course, they're going to put him number one. The media goes along with what the casuals say, Chris. So they're going to put Bivol at number one. If Beterbiev wins, will they put him at one? I don't think so. That's not the popular thing to do. So they're not going to do that. It doesn't make money. It doesn't make sense. So they'll rather go with the popular guys. But yeah, I believe so. Until December, they should be number one. This is a huge fight, man. People feel like are underestimating this fight.
Right. And this takes me to my next question, and I think I might know the answer, but let me ask you this. If this fight does go the distance, do you think that there's some politics at play? Do you think that sways the card, or do you think we get an outright good decision?
Man, I don't know. I don't think Turkey's been in the game long enough for us to know that at the moment. There's been some good decisions so far in the Turkey events. I thought Rayo was gonna get robbed against Pitbull. I think he won most of those rounds. I think it was a clear win, but I thought they were gonna rob him, and they made the right call. Some people think Miller should have beat Andy Reese, but yeah, I don't think we have a big enough sample size to be able to say that. Obviously, if politics are at play, you want Bivol to win. He's 33 years old. You can still make that fight with Canelo happen. Big money fight. There's more big money fights for Bivol at his age than there are for Beterbiev. So I'll just leave it at that. But I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't think there would be any foul play in this one. But that might be a naive statement as a boxing fan who's watched boxing for a long time.
And obviously, Gio, we know that if Bivol wins, I don't think there's any shock. We're gonna hear the face of boxing. We're gonna hear Canelo call him out. If Beterbiev were to win, Gio, do you think we hear a vocal Canelo or a quiet one?
Quiet.
Quiet.
He better stay quiet. Look, shh. Don't call out Beterbiev, man. Nobody call out Beterbiev. You guys are crazy if you're calling him out.
Man. Again.
He's too big. He's too big. He can't. He would never beat a guy like Beterbiev. He's too big, too strong.
I agree. I agree that he stays quiet, but man, I would still be shocked if somehow, some way, like we hear the fight get made, and then, hey, Canelo's one of the most prideful guys out there, man. He's one of the most prideful guys, and if you were gonna go beat the guy that beat you, and then some guy beat him, I mean, it wouldn't be far fetched to go after that guy. But I agree. I think he stays quiet, but man, that would be a shocker to me if he calls out the winner, if it is indeed Beterbiev.
Yeah, I think there's more possibility of Beterbiev fighting Usyk than Canelo fighting Beterbiev. Yeah.
If Beterbiev does destroy Bivol, Do you think that fight gets made? I mean, we know that they have some history in the amateurs. Do you think a fight like that gets made?
It's definitely interesting. It would be interesting to see if Usyk will be willing to go down to cruiserweight again. And then obviously Beterbiev would just have to put up a few pounds. Yeah, I think I don't see why not, man. Both guys are working with Turkey.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of times if Turkey wants something done, some people are with it. So others aren't, like Canelo and Crawford. He said, "Man, I'm not interested in that." But Tim Zhu recently also spoke out against Turkey. Kind of know what kind of happened there as far as like Turkey talking bad about Ziu's team, saying he's not going to work with them. But yeah, I can see it happening. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the only reason I'd be interested in Beterbiev Canelo is to see if there's any man out there who can hurt Canelo. We've never really seen him hurt since Jose Miguel Cotto, right? When he was 18, 19. So can in his prime or close to his prime, can somebody actually hurt him? That would be the only interesting part. But yeah, man, yeah, this is gonna be a great fight. We hope everyone tunes in. We hope everyone tunes in next Tuesday. We will see who was right. We will see who was wrong. Um, but at the end of the day, I just hope for a great fight. I hope a lot of people do support this fight. Glad these guys are getting paid. They deserve it. And of course, we're about an hour 15 in. So you guys get your last questions, comments off. I had something very interesting um that I wanted to show you guys. First of all, talking about getting paid, obviously they a lot of times they disclose the purses after the fact, right after the fight. Uh but just to kind of gauge where these guys were at before the fight, Bivol's purse versus Canelo was 5 million. I would assume that's guaranteed. I think Excuse me. I think that's actually in one of these articles that I had pulled up. Let me see if I can find it. So 5 million, obviously you're fighting the face of boxing. Here it is. So obviously that's going to be a little inflated. I mean, Canelo probably made his 35, 40 million, right? But
Yeah.
here it says Bivol reportedly earned 5 million in his win against Canelo Alvarez. Beterbiev reportedly took home 1.3 million against Callum Smith. So I think that I hope they get close to 10 million or more, Chris, for this one. We'll see if we can find something next week after the fight.
Yeah. For sure they're gonna get paid handsomely. Um, to get these two guys to agree on something and knowing that Turkey's involved, and we know that nearly unlimited resources for the Prince. I'm sure they're gonna get some good bags. And yeah, man. Again, this is a shout out once again to Turkey for making this fight happen. I do agree with you. Maybe 1 or 2 years too late, but still both at the peak of their powers. So I say we're still gonna get a pretty great fight. It's not 6 7 years too late like Mayweather Pacquiao. So it's still a great match, and both still undefeated. So I expect something close to their peaks. So, and I can't wait for this one. Quick update, Gio. I did talk to Joel Diaz via text today, and I did ask him. I'm like, oh, when are you going to fly out? And he did tell me that he's not going out this time around. I he was nice enough to say come and interview me Thursday, Friday. So hopefully get that interview to you quick. I'm gonna ask him about the keys to victory for each guy. He's usually pretty candid when it comes to these things. Obviously, we're gonna be respectful in our questioning. But yeah, man. Hopefully we get some good pointers and maybe get a little bit of inside information. See how he feels that this fight will play out. Of course, he's got a good stake there with Bivol. But yeah, he's not part of the coaching team for this time around. And hopefully we get some good quotes, some good information from him for this fight, Gio.
Yeah, man, this guy. When were you gonna tell us, Chris? An hour 15 into the podcast. You rather the two guys that don't know about boxing talk here for an hour 15? Man, this guy. Yeah, we'll send that over quick and then we'll post it up on YouTube and see what Joel Diaz has to say. We do have I posted, let me see if I can find it real quick. I know you talked to him about it last time that you spoke to him. You guys spoke about that fight. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Um, how long ago was this? Must have been a while ago, huh?
It's probably like a year ago.
Was it? Holy shit. I thought it was all right. I won't find it. I won't find it anytime soon, but I did want to show you guys where is it? There's another article that I read that I thought was very interesting, Chris. Obviously we talked about the Arthur Beterbiev injury, how that can play a factor into this. More recently, I saw the video on Instagram, I believe it was Dmitry Bivol's ex-wife talking about how well, they're recently getting divorced after I don't know 16 years or something like that. She obviously had words to say about it. She was saying that the money changed them, the victory after Canelo changed them. He turned into a different person. And let's pull up this article. She's now hoping that he loses. And that's let me pull it up for you guys. That's her right there. All right.
I gotta see this.
Ekaterina accuses Bivol of an abusive marriage, discloses his injuries to the opponent. So obviously we got to take this with a grain of salt, but I'm gonna go ahead and read some of the stuff that she was saying. And I don't know, maybe this has something of this becomes a factor in the fight itself. All right. A quote right here says, "Cancel Bivol for paying only $1,100 per month for both kids. He is hiding his foreign bank accounts." She has further slammed her ex-husband as a coward and has shared with Beterbiev just how he can rain on Bivol. Let's see. "I can tell you everything I know. He has a stress fracture of a vertebra in his back. All his hands have been operated on, and not just once. One elbow for sure. Very sore knees. His left ear is constantly swelling, has been broken many times, and fluid has accumulated in his eye many times. Sometimes he can't see. But the main thing is that he is a coward. We need your victory, Arthur," she says.
Damn.
Like I
That's pretty
said,
damning.
let's take this with a grain of salt, but that I thought that was pretty wild what she's saying in this interview or whatnot.
It's crazy. Again, we talked about this before. Again, people forget that these fighters are people too, and they come from no money. You know, they fight. Every 3-4 months, so they depend on that money to keep them going for the next fight and the next fight and the next fight. And sometimes those purses are not substantial. I've always said it, Gio. When certain fighters make their first million, which is like life-changing money, I always wonder how they respond. Recently the Rollies, how do the Rollies respond? Like they became millionaires overnight, and then with it comes the freedom, the women, the distractions. You don't train as hard as you once did because you've already made that money. How do fighters respond? So to me, this is not shocking, but it's also like, oh man, you always feel like certain fighters are disciplined, but I don't know. We don't, like you said, we don't know if it's how much to feed into this, but yeah, they're people too, man. Fighters are regular people too, and money can change people.
Yeah, wild. But yeah, man, we're gonna get out of here soon. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Chris and I are going with Beterbiev KO. Man, I was kind of hoping you were going with Bivol, man. I need to catch up on our predictions. Let me pull it up. Let me see if I have that.
I'm playing it safe, man. I can't go against 100% knockout ratio, Gio. I'll take some risks some elsewhere, man, but not with AB, the real AB.
Big bro saying, I hope Bivol wins now.
Damn.
A couple people were saying Bivol. I think Iceman was saying Bivol. Um, who else? I think Big Bro was saying Bivol. Skills from New Orleans. New Orleans says he has 200 on Beterbiev. Did I read that correctly? Where is it? I'm scrolling up here. Yeah, man, this is gonna be a great fight. I definitely wouldn't bet in this one, man. This is gonna be a close one, but yeah, I think I said 55-45. Where do you have it as? 55% favoring Beterbiev in my eyes.
Yeah, I have it 53-47. That's still pretty close, but given the edge to Beterbiev again is much power, man. Again, what he did at Callum Smith, and that's a Callum Smith that probably looked the best. A huge Callum Smith at that 175, and to see him crumble, I'm like, man, nobody's that big, bro. Nobody is that big. How if this giant couldn't take the shot, who else is gonna take the shots? Beterbiev by knockout.
Yeah, to me, I think the one that is that stands out in my head was the Joe Smith Jr. one. I mean, he was touching Joe Smith Jr. and hurting him. I mean, that one was destructive. But yeah, man, I think that's all we got. I think we said everything we needed to say. It's gonna be a very interesting one. I'm very, very excited for it. As I said, tune in next week. We'll break it all down. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, it's a good show. I gotta find someone who has the zone to watch that undercard. I got ESPN Plus for sure, so I'll be watching the main event. But yeah, just great fight, man. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your aunties, your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever you're into. But man, you can't miss this fight.
Yeah, for me, no. Thank you guys for being part of the chat, man. Thank you guys for keep us entertained, dropping your knowledge, man. We truly appreciate it. And yeah, man, this fight is for every single boxing fan out there, man. It's been a long time coming, and we're getting it close to its peak. So, man, you guys enjoy that fight Saturday.
Yes, sir. Let's go to some last comments here. Who's fighting in the chat?
Fighting in the chat, man.
Let's see. She out here giving all the secrets, says Big Bro. He is the father of your children, and you should be wanting him to win so he can give them more money.
Damn. Yeah. Iceman says, Chris, what do you do at NBC? I'm the janitor, bro. I take out the chat. Now I'm a producer. I write the news, so that's what I do, man.
All the fake news is coming from Chris.
I'm putting all the fake news out there. I'm trying to put some of these boxing stories more out there, but yeah, man, I put out fake news. That's what I do.
Man, you see any fake news, you better blame Chris. All right, I'm trying to scroll up here. Chris, give your last shout outs and then we'll get out of here. I'm trying to see if we missed any good comments here. Iceman says, can't wait for the fight. Let's go.
Yeah. Now, once again, now shout out to you guys, and man, and shout out to these two warriors, man. They're gonna put on a great fight. I predict a classic, man. I'm hoping something, Usyk, Fury. I hope we get something close to Canelo Triple G1, man. Because again, you only get these kinds of fights like once every 10 years where you pin the best against the best, undefeated near their primes. So, man, I'm hoping to get a classic.
Iceman, let me find out your skills from New Orleans, bro. Aren't you from New Orleans too? Let me find out he got the KD burner account. It happens. It happens. But yeah, man, thank you guys for keeping it lit. Make sure to follow us against AtR, against the ropes, Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, all Facebook, all of those. Make sure you're subbed to the channel if you're not subbed yet. And yeah, we're gonna have more content coming soon if Chris is able to connect with Joel Diaz. And yeah, there's some good action. Let's just pull up the boxing schedule real quick because we do have some interesting fights here in October. Let's see, boxing schedule. Where are we at? Yeah, there's. What do we have right here? And by the way, that Baumgartner versus Pursoon fight ended in a no contest, Chris.
That's
Unfortunately.
crazy.
Unfortunately, an accidental cut. Pursoon was knocked down in the first from what I read. I wasn't able to catch the fight, but yeah, hopefully they run it back. All right, who do we have here? Takuma Inoue is fighting on the 13th. So yeah, that's this weekend. Emmanuel Rodriguez, one of Inoue's victims, is fighting on the 12th in New Jersey, Newark. What else? Tim Zhu, Chris. Not this Saturday, but the one after. He's fighting Mortazaliev, who has the IBF belt at 154 pounds. So Tim Zhu making his return. That fight is going to be on Prime Video, no pay-per-view. So if you are a subscriber to Amazon Prime Video, you can watch that fight for quote-unquote free. October 26th, DAZN, Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis. That should be a good one. Manchester, England. That's what's coming up. And of course, we got some other fights there. Jaron Ennis. This is going to be a good event, man. Obviously, Ennis and Bam are heavily favored, I would say, in their bouts, but they're fighting in Philly November 9th on DAZN. That Mike Tyson fight, I don't know if anyone's watching that. The Zurdo Ramirez announcement became official. Arnold Barboza Jr. will be fighting Jose Ramirez on that one. Hopefully, we can get Arnold on the podcast next week to break that fight down. And yeah, of course, you see there Inoue at the end of the year, Gervonta against the almighty Lamont Roach, and of course, that heavyweight bout. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. Trying to get some guys also, some of the fighters here on the live podcast for you guys. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll be back next Tuesday.
Peace. Let's go.
Peace, mates. Man.
Let's go, Beterbiev. Let's go, Bivol.
These women, Chris. So much pity. Root for your mans, man. Root for your baby daddy, man. Nothing wrong with it.
Baby.
Baby. Baby.
Este Canelo. Este Canelín.
Let's go, mates. Let's go, mates. Peace.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco Gallo AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Against the Ropes. Huge shout out to Against the Ropes. Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you very soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.